Hello, Mike Felberger, and it's time for an August 15th High Banks highlights recap of the racing action at the Grandview Speedway. Grandview Speedway, a one-third mile high-banked oval located right off of Route 100 on Passmore Road in Bechtelsville, Pennsylvania. A solid field of 83 race cars signed into the pit area, 42 small block modifieds, 41 sportsmen, both classes needing 4 heats and 2 consolations to make up the field. Again, Tina Rogers adding 2 more cars to the crate sportsman feature due to the car counts. And here's how things went down. First up was for the crate sportsman, 4 heats were needed. Getting the heat wins was Steve Young in the 187. Gavin Krupp in the 5K. Third heat win going to Paul House Connect in the 25 with Nick Van Wickle in the 41. Your fourth heat winner. 2 consolations were needed. Matt Laubach in the 17 getting the first consolation win, and your second consolation winner, the 973 Jesse Landis. That set the stage for the 25-lap main. No provisionals were added, so 28 cars, 25 laps, and here's how things went down. Paul House Connect grabbing the early race lead in the 25, was soldiering on with Alex Bartorillo in the 261, stalking him every bit of the way. They did have some race issues. It took 2 tries to get the first lap in, and they also had a 6-car tangle down on the front stretch, but once everything was shaken down, the race went pretty smoothly after that. 4 cautions were needed for the 25-lap A-main, and getting his second win of the season in 261. Fantastic race again. Alex Bartorillo. Finishing second was the 187 Steve Young. Getting a podium spot. Looking pretty solid the last couple of weeks since they changed the car to this other color, the new color car for the 59K. Dakota Kohler getting third. Gavin Krupp, the 5K, fourth. Brett Gilmore soldiering on to get a 5th place finish, driving the number 7. Your 6th place finisher, Jordan Henn in the 4R. Getting 7th was Teague Miller in the 917T. Nick Van Wickle bringing the 41 home in the 8th spot. Shannon Slaughter putting the 53S. Good strong showing for Shannon. She's had a couple of recent weeks of bad luck, but soldiering on and getting a good top 10 finish, finishing 9th in the 53S, and rounding out your top 10, a feature winner at the Grandview Speedway in 2026, Mark Moore in the 20M. Hard Charger was an alternate. Kenny Gilmore actually qualified, decided not to start the feature. That put Decker Swinehart in the 83 into the field, and Decker charged from 28th to 14th, an advancement of 14 spots to get the Hard Charger. They had the vintage cars at Grandview for 90s night. It was pretty cool seeing some of the 90s t-shirts for many of the people wearing throughout the grandstand. In the 90s, I was on the starter stand Grandview as an assistant starter to Bruce Harmony. Enjoyed every week I was on the starter stand. But the vintage cars getting the modified win, the 157 of Sven Olson, and your sportsman winner, the 336 Lucas Mutter. Next up, the small block modifieds. Again, 4 heats were needed for them, 2 consolations. Your heat winners were Ron Herring in the 85, Ron Herring Jr., the 85. Timmy Buckwalter getting the second heat win, the 942. Craig Von Dohren finishing the 12-lap heats in first in the car number 30, with Craig Whitmoyer in the 99 getting the 4th heat. 2 consolations were needed. The first consolation was a thriller. Loudon Reimert and Ryan Graver putting on a virtual show for the consolation, with Graver getting by Reimert on the last lap in the 101. Ryan Graver getting the first consolation win. Your second consolation winner was Logan Watt. That set the field for the 30-lap main. 28 cars. Nobody took a provisional. They had a few cautions, 3 yellows, slowing the racing down. Mark Gogler was your early race leader. He was quickly challenged by Ron Herring Jr. in 85. Ron getting by Gogler and moving through the field. Jim Hausworth, he was actually had that 72 up in the so-called Brett Cressley lane there for a while, getting by Herring to recapture the lead, or capture the lead, I should say. They had a couple of yellows in between there, and Herring rebounded, got past Hausworth again, but on the move was Craig Von Dohren in the 30. Craig Von Dohren got by Ron Herring and just set sail the rest of the way. And the battle for second spot came down to Ron Herring Jr., Jim Hausworth, and on the move in the 77 was Kyle Smith. In fact, Kyle got past Herring and was challenging Hausworth for the second spot as the race neared its completion. But under the Ray Kemp checker after 30 laps, getting his second win of the season was Craig Von Dohren in the 30. Jim Hausworth finishing second in the 72. Finishing third was Kyle Smith in the 77. That's your podium finishers. Craig Von Dohren first, Jim Hausworth second, Kyle Smith third. Finishing fourth was early race leader, the 85, Ron Herring Jr. Anthony Perego, another solid showing down at the high banks with the New York driver getting fifth in the Vinnie Salerno number 4. Eddie Strada, your point leader, probably going to increase the point lead a little bit, getting sixth in the 33. Dwayne Howard, 15G, finishing seventh. Carol Hine, the 114 actually looked pretty good. After a few weeks of struggling to get that car moving, Carol Hine had a good solid finish with an 8th in the 114. One of the heat winners, Tim Buckwalter, in the 942, finishing 9th and rounding out your top 10. After his thriller in the consolation with Ryan Graver, Loudon Reimert rebounds to get 10th after the 30 laps were completed. So the podium finishers, Craig Von Dohren in the 30, Jim Hausworth in the 72, Kyle Smith in the 77. Racing returns at Grandview Speedway on Friday night, August the 21st for the Outlaw Enduro Series, and returning back on Saturday, August the 22nd for another strong night of small block modifieds and crate sportsmen. Have a safe and happy week. See you back at the Speedway next week. I'm Mike Feltenberger. Thank you for watching.